We know that healing comes from the inside out, and our quantum realm is what we're exploring.
Hello, and thank you for joining us during this collaborative human design journey. We will be bringing you this video podcast on multiple platforms, including Substack and YouTube. I'm Dyanna Marie from Transcending Ascension, here joined with...
And I'm Tah Groen with Living Our Human Design. I am a manifesting generator. Manifesting generators are like racehorses that need this focused guidance. I'm a 6-3 profile. I have 2 open centers, the root center and the emotional center.
And I'm a projector with an open throat center who's also a martyr investigator. So this brings me great joy to find out our human design information and how we can build ourselves a better selves using this amazing map that's been gifted to us from the universe.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I know that you will enjoy all of our content.
I hope you will enjoy being here with us because we are truly enjoying putting this together for you. Hello, and thank you again for joining us on this human design journey. I'm Dyanna Marie with Transcending Ascension, here joined with human design expert Tah Groen of Living Our Human Design. How are you doing today, Tah?
Oh, I'm so great. So great. We are on a roll, and I just love these interactions. My heart is growing so fond of you, Dyanna. I'm just like, family. You're my family.
Yes, I too am loving it. Loving it. I'm glad we're starting like out of this place of trust and like union together as a team, because today we want to touch on something different. We're not going to touch on anyone's specific chart. Today we want to touch on issues that we're seeing within the spiritual community. We know it's the ascension, and we know the tides are going to get hotter. We're in that petri boiling dish of alchemy where we're boiling off the imperfections, and we're not above pretending that we are all already fully enlightened and don't have impurities to burn off. So specifically what we mean inside the spiritual world is forgetting the known sovereignty of using your own discernment of knowing thyself, to thine own self be true, is the topic of today's episode. And we're going to bring you through that journey today. Specifically related, how are you seeing it in the human design world, Tah?
There's a number of topics. I feel, it's absolutely order in the chaos. I want to preface that the way that the telephone game works, right? You get that message, and then it has to go through all the circle, and then the person at the end gets something completely different than what it was originally. So that aspect of it is what I talk about a lot. And so that's part of it. And then it's getting diluted. And then the other part is, in my whole journey as a yoga teacher, this concept comes up quite often, the guru. So those are the 2 things that we're exploring, right? So yeah, I'll let you take it from there and see if I have any specific response to questions that you may have to guide this conversation.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, in the human design world, which I don't specifically jump into any one camp. So any camp I'm jumping into, it's almost a taste of visitation. And I see it in the human design world of being a projector and people being like, honor the projectors, know their children, take care of them, know they're this, know they're that. And a lot of the problems were no one was actually talking to a projector in this compilation of all this evidence. And that's just one camp right there, where we have this, the reality of the situation is not being touched. We're having a lot of hearsay without any real substance, without any real purpose, other than creating almost division, and whether by accident or on purpose. But when we talk, I just noticed this, and I'm not an expert, but when you talk in human design of a projector, a generator, a manifestor, you are missing thousands of the points, which we've mentioned here. You are missing the ins and outs and the intricacies, like how I've learned, like, I am a splenic projector, right? But my son's a mental projector. And that right there is a world of difference. So right there, we're
Yeah.
already creating
Yeah,
issues.
that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly it. Of course you pulled that in. You pulled that in to how different projectors are from each other. And that to just blanketly put that the camp and just everybody's going to this camp and not really going deep enough into to their self awareness. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Absolutely. And you
Yeah.
end up finding this in a lot of spirituality. And I'm seeing it bleeding over into so many other things. And this goes into the guru. And tell me about how people are seeing Ra as a guru.
Well, one of the latest posts from a mental projector, brilliant because of course they're the ultimate teachers and guides, and we, I just take it for granted that the inner self is the guru. And in fact, 14, in 2014 I started teacher training, a yoga teacher training, and one of the things that I wrote in our letter was that we are our inner guru, and we are the dispeller of darkness and the mover into light. It's us. It's not anything outside of us. And so even in the yoga community, that was a big faux pas, you would say, because people would stand in line and want to kiss Patabi Joyce's feet, And I was like, that's really interesting. I'm not sure about that. So the same is for Raw. You cannot do that. I think personally, use the man as the catalyst. It's the message. It is the content. Yeah, you can move from there, I think.
Yes, because I am seeing a growing number of people, and they're not any like Ra brought down some important information. He high level channeled stuff in that is next level information, and we're very grateful. But he was a manifester himself too, right? Meaning the divine lined that up perfectly. Do you think it's an accident that they brought such an important teaching down that would require so much work to bring to the world, and they gave it to a manifester? No, that was on purpose so that he could bring it through. Not that he
Right,
invented the system. He didn't invent the I Ching or Kabbalah or astrology to begin with, all the things that it pulls from to make it like you would know the
right,
mathematical formula and how they print it all out. That is clearly coming from the divine itself
right,
and not from one
right.
specific person.
So I have something to say about the concept of channeling, because Ra, I don't think uh, wants us to say channeling for the experience. My take on this experience is that it's like beside him, not through him. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? It's not like taking over.
That's
It
interesting because yes, exactly. There's a difference, and that's where I like how I was saying earlier, I can channel if I wanted to, but that's not the same, and that can get corrupted. That can get
right,
violated. The fourth
exactly,
dimension that can make that up is bigger than us.
right,
Infinitely. So it's better to work beside it because you can filter it through your own discernment, your own sovereign soul, and it'll help you progress in the meantime. If you're just stepping aside to let a channeled spirit come into you, how is that actually advancing you whatsoever?
How did you know that that's what I wanted to say? That's exactly what I wanted to say, because it is um, about the sovereign freedom of the body. You want that solid, uh, yeah. And in Ra's case, solid manifester. This is his vehicle. Yet he got the knowledge, so we call it an experience. Yeah, isn't that interesting? The difference between the concepts of channeling versus holding the knowledge as an experience. Really
It's true.
important distinction, I think.
It
Yeah.
is, and this is what I've done many lessons on this on my own, like about how we're in a quantum soup, the Akashic records. We're inside it all the time, and how you say everything's frequency, and it is just that. So when like we don't just all of a sudden get divine information. It happens when we meditate, when we just focus in, when we know how to align. You can pull it in at any time, but it's a focus. You are literally like, we are a technology that it seems really magical, but all magic really is science that we don't understand yet. Like even electricity, if you show that 1,000 years ago, they're going to think that's magic. And one day we're going to understand, maybe in the next 1,000 years, probably sooner, that exactly what's happening. Like we'll probably have machines that can tell, oh, nope, that information is coming from sector 45. They're not good. Don't listen to them. You know what I mean? Like we'll be able to
I love
fine
it.
tune
Yes.
the
I love
frequency
your
that's coming in.
I love your creative mind. Excellent. So yeah, so the guru is within and the message is different than the man.
It's true. It's true. And it's funny because you say he's a man. Like one of the things I've watched where somebody was trying to show the people this, that he's just a man. It showed him in one sentence, and I'm not putting him down, but it just shows that he's a human. It showed him in one sentence in the speech he's doing, say that projectors are the way of the future. We need to listen, projectors. They're our leaders. They're going to take us to the future. But manifestors are the real leaders. You should always follow a manifestor because manifestors are actually the leaders. And it was just funny because like he literally took in one sentence, it was like, no, actually, no, you're not the leaders.
Flipped it
And
around,
just like,
flipped it around.
yeah, and you
Yeah.
could almost see him like go through that almost, I don't want to say egoic journey, but like that self journey because he's a manifester. So you could
Right.
almost see like his personalness get to be like, oh, but I still want to be the leader. Like you could see that happen. And just like it does with any human, with any person that's bringing you in information, it's coming through them. You're going to have biases, and that's just every single person's going to have a bias. Like
Right, right, right.
everybody.
That's interesting. The manifester as the leader royalty, because basically it's the old echelon, right, of royalty and leadership in that dogmatic sort of way. Now, though, that's dissolving. So it's so interesting about how Ra flipped it and said that manifestors are actually the leaders and the ones to guide humanity. And it's because we're in a transition right now. The manifester aura is actually old fashioned. It's like the royalty of the past is now dissolving. That's no longer our leadership anymore. What will become the leader are you, your aura, the projector aura. So that is what he's talking about. And yes, we have manifestors around us. And when the manifestors are in true alignment with their highest, purest connection of their true self, they end up being the ultimate initiators, the ultimate aura that will create a ripple and an impact here. I know this for a fact because I have so much impact from the manifestors in my life. I mean, you have no idea. The impact from a manifestor is absolutely off the charts. So I have to defend him in some regards to the aura of the manifestor because it's absolutely this initiating aura, this aura that makes an impact only when they're in alignment with their true self and they're initiating from that definition that is theirs. So yeah,
That's
so
a
I just had to
fascinating.
put that in there a little bit because it's true. It is what he said is correct.
Absolutely. And I like what you said there about in their alignment, because isn't that just the truth for absolutely everybody, whether or not you're specifically lining up your human design chart? Although that's what I'm always trying to get through to people is that if you looked into this, you'd be able to align easier because you would know how to align for yourself. But anybody, so like when when they're talking about the problems with projectors or the problems with generators or the problems with it's usually the problematic ones you hear mentioned are manifestors or projectors. And it seems like it's this war being created, although oftentimes it's not even, usually there's manifestors discussing it, but it's like like generators and manifesting generators. And it's this whole, it's like they're trying to create, it's what humans do. And it's like they're trying to create in human design the way the rest of the world has always been. But human design, it's like a structure for us to create the new world, I don't think it's an accident it's here so recently. Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason why it couldn't have been channeled in, or like you said, like brought in earlier. There's no
Yeah.
reason whatsoever. It's here now because it's for the new world, and the new world is going to transcend past that. And there's something to be said about the new leaders are going to move into being the projectors. Well, what can a projector not do? A projector cannot become successful without permission, because they need to be invited. So what's that mean? What's that mean for the future? And we're brand new. We've only been here since mid 1700s, right? Our
Yeah,
type.
so that's so interesting, that all of that interplay is absolutely, what am I key. But what we were discussing was the fact that sometimes the man gets perceived, right? So going back to that, example of Raw, and I'm sorry, but the example that you gave, I just kind of fixed that just a little bit. But there is other examples of Raw just being like just talking, like his own life and his own experience. And so really it comes through. So not all of Raw's talks are this profound human design data. It's his own personal, is what I'm,
His own
yeah,
personal journey with it, just like
yeah,
us right
yeah,
now.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think that's what you were trying to say when you brought in that manifestor example, right?
Oh, well, yes. And just going into the fact that, like, how we said you need to know thyself. You are the guru. And the things of the past are being brought into what we're trying to create for the future. Like worshiping people as gurus, if it's a channeler, if it's Ra, if it's Swami Vivekananda, Jesus, Buddha, they've all had their day in the sun as the guru, and none of the proper ones never asked you to treat them like a guru. And that's why we are all moving to being that know thyself. And I brought up the projector aspect because there's something there beyond just me being a projector, but for the universe telling us that the leaders of the future need to be invited. So what does that
Right.
say? Does that say
I
the universe
I
wants us to keep being aggressive? Does that mean the universe wants us to keep infighting? Or does that mean the universe wants us to go with the flow and to go where we're wanted and to, you know what I mean? Find the energy.
It begins within yourself. I mean, we all have these things inside of us. There's so much of it. Is there anyone here in this room that doesn't have an individual gate? You know. When you look at the complexity of these 3 different variations of circuitry, most human beings are going to have at least a gate of this. Which means that within the genetic continuity of the process of the development of the spirit of the planet, that the spirit's depressed, and we know that. It's obvious. And you know, what happens now is that what we're looking at is this transition. It's been taking place since 1781, since the 9-centered process, since the ascendancy of the projector, since the change of the role of the manifestor. All of this is pointed towards the need and the demand on the collective to heal the spirit of the individual, because we're about to enter into a deeply individual cycle in our evolution. We've been living with a global tribal cycle since 1610. It's been dominated by the 4037. Dominated by it. Because the precession of the equinox begins as a pinpoint in the 37th gate in Pisces. We're going to leave that behind, and it's not far away now. It's 22 years. We've got 22 years left to begin the process of knowing how to heal the spirit of the individual. And when the epoch changes, when the cycle changes, we leave behind the one thing that has protected us. This tribal, organized, communal, institutional environment, where there are support mechanisms, whether it's anything from the daycare center to the bus that runs on schedule. All these mechanisms.
Yeah, you brought depth to that. That was really good. I understand why now you were going in this vein. It makes total sense to me. So my mind is wanting to clarify what you just said in a way that maybe is a little bit more logical. Oh, this is good. This is good. So the old paradigm is control and power and sacrifice, literally control and sacrifice and lack, because we have the royalty and then we have the peasants, right? And so now the new paradigm is coming, the new shift. We can all feel it. We can all freaking feel it. So now we have 22% of the planet who are these assessors of energy, which are projectors. And they're here not to be a control mechanism and the lack down here with peasants, but to interact in a divine way with the generator energy, the assessment of energy from projectors to be invited to guide the generator energy. So you hit the nail on the head when you brought that forward. Yes, that's exactly it. So manifestor energy changing, projectors interacting in a partnership, no longer the hierarchy or the peasant, lack and control and sacrifice.
Yes.
Gone. Yeah.
And
really
that goes
good.
for every single one of us. Like every single one of us need to find that guru within. And we need to literally do that. Like know thyself. And we always say it, but that means start having more I want to say self-respect, but in a not insulting way to people that just throw away their power over and over again. Like you mentioned, you have it in your field of human design. And I had similar versions where they just throw this information at you. Well, this person, this psychic told me this. What do you think about me, about what this psychic said about me? Or I had this tarot reading, but the psychic said this and they don't. What do you think? No. And I throw that right out the board and I lose almost every single person that comes my way because that's not how I do things. We're throwing that all out. We're starting at the beginning. What is your heart? What's going on in your life? Where is your energy at? And how do we move forward from your sovereign discernment enlightening place? Because you can't be looking to outside things to bring you information about you. And some people think human design is doing that, but it's not, because that's coming straight from the universe of cosmic source. That's transcending humanity. And that's what I love. And what was your example on that?
Well, my mind is thinking that when I share human design with people who actually have done the work, it is just, they're just nodding their head going, oh yeah, it's a remembering. They're remembering who they are. That's all it is. And it's almost like a no surprise, no shock, nothing. It's like, oh yeah, I know that about myself. Right? The people who have done the work and are in alignment with that energy in the body, which is we've done. I mean, especially in this field where we're meeting a high echelon of spirituality, I find that. I mean, that yes, we have some of the, and we can touch on this. I know it was part of our show. We have some of the, let's grasp for the new program or the new course or the new, pay $50 and you get your printout of your human design. We get all of that, but most of the time when I'm giving readings to the people that are actually doing the work, it's only remembering. They're remembering and they're going, oh, okay, yeah, now I know more and I'll pay more attention. That's it.
That's truly what it is. As someone, when I stepped into human design, that's exactly what it was. It was like, okay, that explains that. And that explains that. Oh, I see. Yeah. You have people that get offended with what they're told and because they think there's a better and a worse. There's a better and a worse. There's the good and the bad, which I've struggled with just to articulate things, it's hard to find the language, because I think we're also,
Mhm.
this is why the English language is the language of the future, because we have more and more and more ways to say things, because it's hard to convey what we mean with open and closed. And instead of saying good and bad,
Mhm.
or detriment, and all the words and the
Yeah,
languages we have in these
exactly.
things, to mean that like it's always a positive, it just means you might need to do it differently than what's the norm, what's the mainstream, what's what we're used to, because we're inventing a new world, and that can be uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean it's bad. I think this is why people want to look outside instead of in, because
Mhm.
inside feels bad.
Mm.
It's
Mhm.
gonna feel gross, because we have so much darkness that's not even from ourselves. It's from our ancestral trauma. It's from our past lives, and coexisting lives. There's no time and
Mhm.
space. It's from all of
Mhm.
humanity, because we're all one. It's from Mother Earth
Mhm.
herself, because she's off her axis. Like, there's so many reasons why we feel ugh, inside, but it's where we have to go.
Mhm. Exactly. And I love the fact that you brought up that ancestral DNA. And one of the most fascinating things about human design is we could see it on the left. That is the DNA from the father and the mother, and the it's the yeah, it's that, because it's not our fault. I mean, we come into this body, but we've have all of those past generations that are contributing to this vehicle. And then we have the eternal self, which is that mind side that thinks we know, when really it's the body chemistry and the circuit board that will guide us on this material plane, this dimension of time and space. Yeah.
It's
I
so
love
true.
that. So that was really good. That was really good. And so then if we do all of that, then where are the answers? Within. It's like, come on. It's that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's
the
that.
only real answer that ends up coming up is peace, which seems cliche, and people are like, I want more. Except that the whole point of finding peace within, even when you've been working at it for over 10 years, finding peace, technically we've been working at our whole lives. Who didn't want to be in peace? But even consciously working at it for 10 to 15 years, you're still finding things that are new. You're like, oh, I have this to deal with now. Like, there's this inside me that I didn't know about, and this, because
Yeah.
we're churning the earth's energy and
Mhm.
healing it. And it's always been inside us, though, as within, so without. So it's
Mhm.
in there. And then you have this sense of knowing that it's just always been there. Like, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like, we have this, but we're ignoring it. It's like the alarms going off, and the majority of people, even in the spiritual world, are going snooze, snooze, and they just
Mhm.
don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and I love the keynotes in human design and how significant they are. The words are very, very powerful. So for the word peace, that actually is a manifester uh, signature. So manifestors want this peace, and the projector, which you are, want the success. And that feels good too, doesn't it? Success.
Mm-hmm.
And generators, we want to feel satisfied. Satisfied. Yeah. That's, doing a job and feeling that peaceful contentment of satisfaction. So it just gets deeper and deeper when you uh, when you use the words that have been given through the experience, and it gives this specific frequencies of each of the aura types, 4 different aura types. The reflector has this joy. There's this joy,
Oh, that's a
you
good one.
know. So we have joy, we have peace, we have success, and we have satisfaction. Those are all specific to that aura type. Isn't that interesting? Do you find that fascinating?
Yes,
I do.
and
I do. I do.
it's like the carrot at the end of the stick, cosmically pulling us towards where the universe wants us to go, and like knowing our role and knowing what we have to do. And when you know the ins and outs of all the types, you start to paint the picture of why that would be their
Yeah.
ultimate win is
Yeah.
success and satisfaction, and it just
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. Absolutely. Love it. I love it. Such a good conversation with you. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's good to I thought we could bring a good light to it, because neither of us hold a lot of ego in any one camp that I've seen in this world where it's like, no, this is the way it should be. And, besides, that's what I love about human design, because I think humanity does need something real to hold on to. And this is it. This is it. This is where you know thyself. You have a map. You have something to walk with, but it's nothing to get dogmatic about. It's nothing to infight about. It's nothing that one person should say to another that this is how all projectors are. This is how all manifestors are. Just like how we can't go, this is how all channelers are. This is how all yoga instructors are. This is how all, it just doesn't exist. There is no all, because we all are all one, but there's 8 billion that make up that one, and they're all different.
I love it. I love it. That's such a great way to explain it. It's really that. It really is that. Look at your little guy. He's wanting to say hi to you.
Wants for another costume. He's been obsessed with costumes since Halloween. It's a different one every day. He's got the Mandalorian now.
So he's your manifester, right?
He's my
manifester. So
my costume.
Say hi.
Yeah. So he's here to make an impact. To when he's speaking, he is heard more than the other types. So, heard. So making an impact. What does that mean? That means
heard, like people pay attention to him more. Oh yes, for sure.
Isn't that wild?
And in a good way too. Like, it's not like an intention-seeking tantrum way. He just commands authority. At 4 years old, he commands authority. He'll say, "Go do this now," but it will have it'll ring with like wisdom, and it's like, okay.
Right. And so that's about the energy. That's about the frequency, because he has a direct channel to his throat, which brings power, because the throat is the center of town, and everything's moving up to. I mean, we know this even in yoga. This is like creativity. This is the power of our muse, all of that. So yes, manifestors are manifestors because that is their main energetic stream, is to the throat, a power center to the throat. So they're going to be heard because of the energy, the circuit board in the body. That's it. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. And I already knew before even finding human design that humanity was electric. Like, that's already a growing theme with quantum physics, and that we are literal electric beings. Like, we're held together, our atoms are held together by electricity. So literally this system, and the fact that you call it a circuit board and that's how it runs, like, it makes sense. I swear the divine brought about computers, not just so we could all join together, but to show us this is actually what you are. You guys are programs. You guys can get viruses. You guys can be changed. You guys can be upgraded. You guys can be downgraded. You guys can be controlled. You guys can be, like, it's literally lists off everything.
Yeah. And it's fascinating because Ross he calls it the program. The program. Right?
Yep.
So how do you bypass the program? You have to honor your circuit board. You have to honor because we are divine beings, and that eternal self comes in, and it has a say. It's a forced marriage between this vehicle, which is part of the program, and our eternal spiritual self, which comes in. And so how do you buck the current of programming? You honor the vitality that comes in from our eternal spirit, from spirit consciousness. That's how we do it. And that doesn't come from the mind. The programming is the mind. The mind is becoming the program. Even when we were the dream rave, I will never forget this. Ra calls the dreaming, you're being programmed as you're dreaming, because you're all your defenses are down. And so now you're just have access to the program has access to you. Isn't that wild?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? It's like the game that you were just talking about. It's like,
yes.
Whoa. Okay,
yeah, no,
who's
100%.
in charge? Yeah,
this is what I already like figured. It was like an upgrade of the programming too, which is interesting, because that's what they say. So tell me about this fact then, because in the 1700s, the projector started existing, and we had 2 extra centers. And because of that, we came down with 2 extra centers. And because of that, all the other types were upgraded with 2 extra centers. So all of humanity took an upgrade in the 1700s, which, if you look shortly after that, the earth just skyrocketed with progress.
Yeah.
So it lines up.
I love the story. This is really interesting. Projectors have just elevated themselves in the projector groups. I love it. That is not how it was taught, with that it was because of the projectors. The change of the centers, it was just a natural evolution of humans.
Oh, I
Right?
don't
That's
mean it's
how
like
we say it.
because of us, like we did it. I mean, like we're part of the new, like, you know, when you upgrade a
Right.
programming and you add
Yeah.
new information,
Right.
we're the new information that was added. And to make
Yes.
space,
Yes.
because you know how in computers certain things hold bigger bandwidth, to add the
Right.
space and the extra bandwidth, all of humanity was upgraded. So it's like the divine did it. The projector didn't
Yes.
do it, but it was like to fit the
Right.
projector in, everybody got
Uh,
expanded.
That's, yeah, I think that is more correct than what you had said before. That was so
Yeah,
cute.
the projector did it.
Yes, the projectors came down, and then because of the tube, there is, yeah, but yeah, I guess it, yeah, that's exactly it. But it's so interesting the way we were taught at the beginning, where we just did not put so much let's see, interesting facts in it. We just left it really simple in the early teachings. It's just that we were a seven-centered being, and then there is a time that transitioned us into a nine-centered being. So that's how we say it. And then from that, we create, the types, the generator type. I mean, because if you think about it, we all have nine centers. So
Yes.
it's not about projector, generator, manifester, or reflector. It's about the transition from seven centered to nine centered. Period. That's it. Does that make
So
sense?
there might have been no types before then, you're saying, you think? Like we weren't typed up maybe? Because I'll just tell you what they said before, like the whole serf, how we talked earlier about rulers and serfs and stuff. That the manifestors were the rulers and the generators were the serfs. And it just went on like this for thousands of years.
Right. And then we got the projectors. I see what you're saying. So we're reading in between the lines. And yeah, I get you. I get you. But still, the main difference, and the only reason why this is different, is because now we are nine centered instead of seven centered. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh yeah,
So
and it's for sure that humanity had a massive upgrade. And so there's in the middle of the 1800s, I think it was around 1844, if I had to guess. But there was a huge cosmic event that happened that upgraded humanity then too, like astrologically. And right after that, the Baha'i faith. Have you ever heard of the Baha'i faith?
Oh my gosh, we need to do a whole thing on this. My name is from the Baha'i faith. I was raised as a Baha'i Baha'i.
That's
You didn't know this? Yeah,
amazing.
so Tah Groen is my full name, and she's a famous lady in the Baha'i faith. She's the first lady who took off her veil and became a martyr because of it. She was a beautiful poet, and so she's a famous lady in the Baha'i faith. And so my name is Tah Groen from that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Just find that out. That's awesome. Yeah, I tried to make our family Baha'i just because it was like the one religion that seemed to know it all. And there's not many centers here yet. We have like we email, but there's no in-person centers or anything yet. But I hope, I mean, if one thing was to grow, because it's so inclusive.
Yeah,
I mean,
Baha'is are amazing. I still say all my Baha'i prayers. All my children know their Baha'i prayers, and yeah, so it was a great religion to grow up in. Absolutely. But again, there's this dogmatic, stuff that happens in all religions, right? And that is not going within. That is
yes.
looking outside of you for answers,
Yes.
and so there's part of that is uncomfortable, with the control. For example, I was my Baha'i card got revoked because my father would not sign to have me my first marriage. And so how off is that? So not to have your father come to your wedding because of religion. But after that, of course, we made up and he approved and la la la. But at the time, it was a big deal.
Oh yes, that would be hard, and that's exactly what's got to go. So I saw some things there that made me kind of leave it where it was, and I didn't keep diving in,
Yeah.
which I end up
Yeah.
finding with every religion. I keep finding I would love one to dive all the way into. But at
Yeah.
some point, even in Buddhism, which I would say my household is probably mostly Buddhism, I teach them like that's just the best way I found to convey to my children, to try to get these thoughts in to them, just the divine love, peace. Those
Yeah.
stories just seem the most inclusive. But even there, the Buddhists themselves have their own history of going off script, because Buddhism really never should have split from Hinduism. It should be basically yogi, like you'd know that as a yoga instructor. I would say the yogi philosophies, Patanjali, do you know Patanjali? Like they're just probably spot on. Swami Vivekananda that I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Like I
Yeah.
found pretty much no errors there when you're reading stuff. Usually things flag of
Right.
like, okay, like they don't really have errors. They don't really seem to have dogma, but still we're heading
Yep.
for more inclusivity, which still
Right.
keeps into our topic of that's why there's no one religion that'll hold us all. It's nice to have human experience and communion with each other, and to do it in a religious setting only that like we enjoy our spirit together, like spiritual things, to have more of that, especially here in Canada, would be amazing. But still holding the inner self as the ultimate authority, of not worshiping a guru. You can appreciate people that bring you information, but beyond that, you control your soul. You are the one churning your own karma. You are the one who's going to bring you to that next level or not, in this life or the next.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. This is a perfect place to end, I think, because that is about all the time I have today. Yeah. But yeah, this was a incredible conversation. I do want to say something about church. It's so fascinating. The frequency when I do go to church occasionally, yeah, I just feel like I am uplifted. This energy is so powerful. It's about the frequencies that we create when we come in that community, in that coming together in thy name, right? It's
Yes.
so palpable. I don't want to belittle any of that. It's
No,
incredible. It is
I have had
incredible.
some of my biggest
Yeah.
visceral experiences. I started going to an evangelist church. Again, I was never Christian and I felt like scared the whole time. But at the same time, because the evangelists have that singing, that's all about
Yeah.
singing together.
Yeah.
I had actual experiences of my, like, the propeller of a boat
Yes.
in my heart.
Yeah.
I physically felt it
Kundalini.
multiple
Yeah.
times. Like there was
Kundalini frequencies moving up from the base of the chakra, from that serpent snake down at the bottom, and it spirals up because of the purity of the frequencies that we create when we're in a environment like that.
just
Yes.
singing together. Even if you can
Yes.
just join a choir, just singing
Yes.
together is
Yeah.
such palpable magic. We need
Yeah.
more of
We.
this, and we have to
Yeah.
stop fighting for it to
Yeah.
happen, like
Yeah.
just to get that. It's just so powerful. I'm so jealous of all those people that live in LA. You might have it in San Diego where they have like the drum circles and they get to
Oh
just zen
yeah.
out. It's
Yeah,
like, one
I get
day.
my invitations from my guy, who's every month we have this sound healing, and then on Sundays now I'm going to my yin yoga and my sound healing regularly. Yeah. So
Nice.
yeah, so there you go. Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, I wish that for you. Maybe you'll have to create your own
We
sound
have
healing
yoga
circle.
studios. We do get yoga studios. Those are
Okay.
everywhere.
Okay. Good. Good. All right.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you, Diana.
Okay.
I'm so happy with our collaboration, and I can't wait to see what we come up with for next week. And I want to send people to our other shows. So if you're watching this show, please know that we have 3 other shows ahead of this that are great. So just catch up, and then we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. And I would say at the point you're probably seeing this episode, we will be on all podcast platforms. So check us out if you just want to listen on the drive. We'll be a podcast at the point that this episode is released.
Nice. Excellent. Thank you so much.
And
All right.
thank you. See you next week.